Have you ever been in the middle of a difficult week only have an urgent situation?
Please use that somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah.
That's got to go. That's got to go in there. I need people to understand what happens before the show.
Is that Brandy?
That is, yeah, it's Brandy. Or is it Monica?
I can't remember. It's one of those two.
Is it both of them? Didn't they have that one song together?
They did have a song together.
The Boy Is Mine.
Oh, The Boy Is Mine.
That sounded like Brandy, though, what he just sung.
You're right. It's Brandy.
Bye, Brandy.
Have you ever?
All right. Have you ever been in the middle of an already difficult week to have it further more difficulted by an urgent situation that pops up right in the middle of everything else?
Yes. Are you okay over there?
I'm not. Verbs, you're describing what feels like my last 3 weeks. I'm still trying to get over this cold, and you're doing the normal day-to-day, being busy. You get kind of sick, or one of your kids gets sick, and then all of a sudden, everything that was already full or urgent now is just thrown into like a spin cycle of crazy.
I think it's like those things, and then your boss asks you for, a new strategy to fix an issue that she wants by the end of the week. And then you're like, how do I...
Megan listens to this podcast, Courtney. I would tread lightly here.
She does. It's not her fault. It's just, especially when I feel like when you have difficult things happening in multiple spheres of life is when it really feels hard for me. It's like, okay, if there's just a lot going on with work, but generally my, family life and, all these other things are just trucking along like normal. It's like, okay, I know how to, fix that situation. But when like multiple areas start going off the rails, that's when it's easy for me to kind of be like, oh gosh, all of a sudden this feels like an impossible puzzle to figure out how to be successful and how to squeeze all the things out. I would say, especially when you have a sick kid and you like legitimately can't work. You're like, okay, I got this big thing I've got to do over here, but I have a sick kid. It can get really unwieldy really quickly. But good news, we're going to talk today about your calendar when you hit that spot, when you get to that point where you're like, don't freak out. You're having that little talk with yourself to give you some tips on how to immediately triage your calendar for that week. So pretty practical application here, but I'm really excited to talk about it.
Welcome to another episode of Focus on This, the most productive podcast on the internet, so you can banish distractions, get the right stuff done, and finally start loving Mondays. I'm Verbs, here with Courtney Baker and Blake Stratton. Happy Monday to you both, and Nick.
Happy Monday unto you, Verbs.
Happy Monday.
Thank you. So where do we start with this calendar triage? Where's a good place to begin?
So we've got 3 steps we're going to cover, Verbs. A quick pre-step, though, is when life gets this way, you're going to want to just push through. You're going to want to just hustle and feel that hurried sense of, I don't know what I've got to do, but I've just got to go fast. And this only works, these 3 steps only work if you can recognize that that plan is not going to work out. So you've got to stop and recognize, listen, let's pull it back for a moment and pause to think strategically. So that's sort of the headspace you've got to get in. And the first step you're going to take is to identify the non-negotiables. I had a client who I was working with, and he came to me because he was staying up till 1 a.m. many nights, just trying to go through and catch up on work. He would be doing work, taking meetings, and then be in dad mode, not wanting to sacrifice that time. But then there was these urgent non-negotiables that were due the following day or day after that he would end up staying up late. And then, you wake up the next day, you're tired, you're not thinking as clearly or as sharply, or you have low energy. And then things begin to stack on top of each other. And then you throw a wrench in, something unexpected happens, and the whole thing kind of crumbles like a deck of cards. And so, as much as I love to go scuba diving and go deep into, hey, what are those feelings and thoughts, right? There's actually this is one of those instances where there's a very practical step you can do to get your head above water. The first thing we did together was identify, okay, what needs to happen? What are the commitments, the firm commitments you have already made that absolutely have to happen? Let's get those on paper first. Even determining how much time estimated you think those are going to take. When do those occur on the calendar? Start by identifying those, and then everything else will become clearer and more downhill from there. So that's the first step. Identify those non-negotiable things you've got to get done.
So along with that, Blake, step 2 takes us into eliminating the non-essentials. We want to eliminate the things that don't necessarily need to be done that day. So what that could look like is, either commitments or tasks that seemed important to you when you established them. Maybe it might have been a month or so before. Maybe it's a standing meeting that in this particular season of time doesn't really need to happen, or maybe it could happen in a different way or format, or just be removed altogether, just so you can free up some of that space to work on those higher leverage things that are on your list, whether it be on your big 3 or just an important task for that day. Now, that doesn't mean that they're less important. They just means they need to be shifted into another time space. So to this extent, you're going to want to see if those things can be rescheduled, and see if those meetings could happen in a different way, or again, if they even need to happen at all within that time frame.
All right. And the last step is reschedule some of what remains. So obviously there are some tasks that will need to happen, but they don't need to happen right now. And this is really important, going back to what Blake said. A lot of times we just think, okay, we got to move fast. And these are the things that we try to just get through, where really what you need to do is take the time to reschedule them. Take a look at those remaining tasks, which ones can be pushed to a different week. And I know there's some people out there listening that may be a little bit like me. You like to get things done. You don't like to push things off. But in this situation, it's critical that you be self-aware enough to say, all right, let's spend the time. It's important that this gets moved so that I can do it well, so that I have, the headspace and ability to do the things that are non-negotiable well. So those are the 3 steps: identify the non-negotiables, eliminate the non-essentials, and reschedule some of what remains. Hey guys, I have one of my all-time favorite people joining us on today's episode. And Elizabeth, you and I got to work together very closely for, honestly, it was during the pandemic years. And so I do have that time warp happening. I honestly can't even remember. Was it 2 years or 12?
It feels like it was closer to 12, but it was probably closer to 2. I think it was probably between 2 and 3.
Yeah, that sounds right. Well, Elizabeth is now Megan Hyatt Miller, our CEO's executive assistant here at Full Focus. I'm not sure how that happened, but I know that our CEO is so glad to have you working so closely with her. And for everybody listening, Elizabeth is so great at really being able to anticipate and think through the things coming down the road. And when I found out that she was going to be joining us today, I was like, oh man, she also has 2 very small children. Matter of fact, Elizabeth and I, when we were working together, were both pregnant at the same time. Our due dates were 3 months apart. It was a journey that we were on, but since then has had another child. I say that in awe because my 2-year-old is very full of energy, and I can only imagine yours is too. But so you've got a very full plate. You're also, really sitting very closely with our CEO and helping her be successful. And so I thought today, rather than talking about the full focus planner, which we all love, I thought it might be interesting to talk about how you're successful with managing all the personal side of things. So first of all, hey, Elizabeth, thanks for joining us.
So excited to be here. I love Focus on This. I love Courtney, Nick. I feel like you and I have worked together here and there over the past few years or so in Slack and whatnot. So I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Elizabeth, out of the gate, I'm curious, what's your if you had something that you're I really love the way I do this that helps in my personal life, what would it be?
Okay, it's actually something that I just did this morning that I've started doing semi-recently, I feel like, since I had my second child. So I have an almost 2-year-old. He's 23 months and a 6-month-old. So they're 17 months apart. So it's a lot going on. Honestly, it's less hard than I thought it would be. People looked at me when I told them, they saw me with a very small baby and then they saw me pregnant and they were like, oh, you've really got it coming. I'm so sorry. So I think I had just set the bar really, really low. So it hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, here's what I've started doing in terms of time management that I feel like has really, really helped me. A lot of times, you're so tired. Everybody's tired all the time, right? Whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you work a full-time job, whether you don't, there's always some level of tiredness that most of us are experiencing. And so I think in the moments where you have a pocket of time, be it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 minutes, kind of the default could be, okay, I'm just going to sit down and scroll my phone, or I'm going to sit down and, I don't know, stare at the wall. So recently I've started, when I have a small pocket of time, I've started looking at how much time I have and kind of challenging myself to see exactly how many things I could get done in that very small pocket of time. And it's almost like a little game that I play with myself. So this morning it was 9:15 and I had until 9:45. So it wasn't a huge window of time. And I have one or two kind of bigger projects that I'm working on, but then I have this task list that I just keep adding to. I've kind of added to over the last 2 weeks that I'm really having trouble knocking out because for some reason it's more daunting than the big projects. And I thought to myself, okay, I have 30 minutes. I bet I could get 75% of this task list done. Like if I just put my head down and knocked it out. And so I set my timer and I just did it and I got about 80% of it done. So then I felt really good because I beat my goal. So, I think in work, that's kind of what it looks like. And then in life, it's like, okay, it's 8:30. I need to sit down at 9. My older son has just gone to school. My younger daughter's down for a nap. In this 30-minute window, let me see if I could make the bed, put the dishes away in the dishwasher, put the dishes in the sink into the dishwasher and pick up all the toys. And it's like, once I can kind of set a goal for myself and see if I can get there, I get a lot more done than if I were to just sit down and scroll Instagram on my phone, even though that might seem like it would feel better.
I love this so much. And last week, I was at Disney. We went with another family and I think we were talking about, we had to walk up a whole bunch of steps to something. And I looked at one of the kids and I said, sometimes when it's something I am dreading or not really wanting to do, I'll just look at it and say, but what if it was fun? And then I'll try to figure out, okay, well, what could I do in this moment to make it fun? So in this situation, it was walking up a whole bunch of steps. I was like, but what if it was fun? And we all did what our version would be to make it fun. Mine was dancing up the steps, silly, doing it, Some people, it was to race up the steps.
All right, you keep doing the dance, Courtney. People come to YouTube. There it is. That was the dance. We'll see you on YouTube.
Yeah. But I think this very much applies where I've used this more is with things exactly like you're saying. It's okay, I have this task list I don't want to do, but what if I made it fun? What if I gave myself a little challenge? And I don't know, this is probably where people think I'm lean a little bit Enneagram 7 of like always needing things to be fun. But I think it's a really great hack. I love the way that you're kind of, rather than it being like a burden, or it's just like a little challenge of you've kind of gamified some, maybe not super fun things that you need to get done.
Totally. I also think, I don't know if this is true of everybody, but it's definitely true for me. I work much more efficiently when there's a time limit. When I'm like, okay, I'm only going to do this until 9:45, I'm going to get a lot more done than if I'm like, well, I've got all day, so I'll go get some more water and then I'll do one thing and then I'll go, look at my phone and do another thing. So I think the setting time limits actually helps me be much more efficient.
Same thing with like if you tell somebody, like in your example of if to help you with this, if you're like, I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes trying to get as many things done, and you post it in Slack to your team, like my goal is to get, 15 done, and then you come report back. It's like the harder you can make that constraint feel, the more effective it can be. I love that.
Yeah,
tip.
it's a great idea. It's a great idea. You might see me in ClickUp posting my task list, so get ready for that.
It's the same. Nick talks all the time about using Focus Mate, and it's kind of a similar, you're basically using somebody else to be that constraint for you, and really making sure you get done what you've kind of shared with them that you're going to get done. I love using that methodology, and there's a lot of different ways, as we've shared, that you can use it to help you get some things done.
And I think we tend to do that on the long. People will go, I'm going to run a marathon. They'll say, I'm going to run a marathon. And that's 8, 10, 12 months from now. And then so many things can happen between now and then. And we maybe not get there and go, it's fine. It's fine. But when you go in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to do these 3 tasks.
Yeah.
Like if you come back to somebody and say, I didn't get it done, they're like, what happened? Like, the scale of time is so short. They go, there's not really a reason that you couldn't do it. And so it really holds you accountable. So when you said that, I love that idea for like household tasks, especially, or like house things, of being able to go, I'm just going to this list of things I've been putting off. How many can I get done? I think that feels good. I'm going to do that today. When this recording is over, I'm going to do that.
I love it.
Today.
So Elizabeth, I feel like when you and I were working together, I was always trying to figure out meal planning. And I've shared some of my ideas, but I've heard that you have a new system that you're using. So I'd love for you to share what you're doing now, because again, some of these surrounding what feels like you have to eat, your family has to eat. And so how do you do that in a way that's both efficient and effective so that it's not just this kind of drag on your whole entire week?
Yep, totally. Well, first of all, I have to say, Courtney, when you and I were first working together, I think you had one child and I had no children. So you were like really great at meal planning and prepping on Saturday and Sunday. So you would be set up for the week. And I'm over here, no kids, no schedule really. Like, why does she have to do this? I don't really get it. And now I have 2 kids and a busy life. And I'm like, oh, I see why it is vital to be able to get yourself in a place Saturday and Sunday to be successful in terms of cooking meals for your family for the rest of the week. So I feel like you were really one of my inspirations here in this meal prep planning setup that we kind of do now. So I think the first thing that I found is really helpful and important is I plan out all of my meals and my family's meals for the following week on Saturday morning, not on Sunday. Sunday is crazy for me. It feels stressful to me. I want to be able to have a relaxing Sunday, and adding meal planning in on Sunday was not working for us. So I do all of it on Saturday. I plan out what we're going to eat for the week, breakfast, lunches, and dinners on Saturday. And then I go to the grocery store on Saturday morning. I don't know if y'all are Saturday morning grocery shoppers. I don't feel like many people are, because that's the reason I love it. It is empty on Saturday morning. You go in there, you're not like, excuse me. You've got the aisle to yourself. I take my 2-year-old and he uses that race car cart that they have at Publix, which is like double wide. And so you're not bumping into people. It's wonderful. And I feel like everything is really fresh on Saturday. I don't know if they restock it the night before. So I plan my meals for the week. I do my grocery shopping on Saturday morning. I come home and I immediately wash everything that needs to be washed. I chop everything that needs to be chopped, and I put it all in containers that I know it's going to stay fresh throughout the course of the week. So I was finding that previously, whether I ordered groceries or went to the store, if I got a thing of strawberries, I would just stick it in the fridge. And then when it was time to eat the strawberries, I inevitably didn't want to do it because I was going to have to wash them and slice them. I didn't have the time to do that. So I found that if I buy everything on Saturday, get home, take the 30 minutes that it takes to wash it all, chop it all, and put it in containers that I can easily see it, has really, really helped. So that's kind of the prep work that I do. And then every day, so the work schedule that we're on, our working hours are 9 to 3. Our company's open 9 to 3. And so I try to shut down around 3 most days. And then I use every day, I set aside 3:30 to 4 to prep as much of our dinner as I can at that time. I found that if I try to prep dinner from 5 to 5:30 or from 4:30 to 5:30, the day just gets crazy. The kids are in bad moods, or it's beautiful and we want to be outside at the park or walking around the neighborhood. And instead, I'm like, no, I have to be inside getting dinner ready. So if I can prep from 3:30 to 4, 3:30 to 4:30-ish, and then we come in at 5:30 and dinner's almost ready and I only have to do the last few little things, it's so helpful and so much less stressful. And I don't have a hangry toddler who's begging for dinner because it's almost ready. I'm not at the beginning of the cooking process. So those 3 things: meal planning Saturday, grocery shopping Saturday, and prepping dinner from 3:30 to 4:30 have been a game changer in terms of how much I enjoy cooking, how quickly dinner gets ready, and how much our family enjoys eating it because they're not waiting around for me to finish it.
That's awesome. Really, what you just described is like mega batching
Yes.
your meals. You've just done that on Saturday, which is a tool that you can use for any type of, task that you need to get done and need to get done efficiently. I especially like using mega batching when it's things I don't enjoy as much, of just like, let's get it done, get it compressed it as much as possible and get it off my plate.
Yep.
I don't know if I don't love meal planning or even really cooking so much. And so I love that hack. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are always trying new ways to make it efficient.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I love cooking. I'm the cook in our family by choice. My husband doesn't enjoy cooking, and I really do enjoy it. So I, choose to carry pretty much all the weight of cooking and grocery shopping and all of that. But with that, I put pressure on myself to cook every single night because I enjoy it, but also because I know that I can do it. And that had gotten really difficult recently, just with work and 2 kids. And so another thing that I do that's really helped is I pick one night. I look at the calendar on Saturday for the upcoming week. I see what we have going on, and I pick one night of the week that is a takeout night. And I know not everyone has that luxury, but that has been a game changer for us too, because I know on the front end, like, okay, Tuesday, I have work, then I deal with the kids, then we have a swim lesson, then we have this, and I know that night we're going to pick up dinner. I'm not putting pressure on myself to rush home and get something, and that has really been a game changer too. So if you have the ability to do that, I would highly recommend takeout one night.
It's awesome. Well, Elizabeth, it has been so nice to have you on the podcast. Is this your first time on the show?
Yes. This is my first time on a podcast, period.
Wow. That is shocking. Welcome to your podcast debut. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to more conversations about how you get it all done. So
thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here.
So today's tip to level up your focus: reevaluating your calendar is a healthy, productive practice. Even if you're not putting out fires, just to stay in that healthy zone, it's a good practice to take on. So today, eliminate just one non-essential task on your meeting or on your calendar to give you that space. So thank you for joining us on Focus on This.
This is the most productive podcast on the internet, so make sure you share it with your friends, and don't forget to join us over in the Full Focus Planner community on Facebook. We'll be back next Monday with another great episode. Until then, stay focused.
Focused.
We did not do good. That was terrible.
I think we nailed it.